Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2015 Tsinghua Management Global Forum. My name is Chong Bai, Associate Dean of Tsinghua SEM. I'll be your master of ceremony tonight. Please allow me to introduce the guest speakers for this evening. Mr. Elon Musk, the CEO and It's very popular. The CEO and product architect of Tesla Motors, the CEO and chief designer of space exploration technologies, SpaceX, and the chairman of SolarCity. Prior to these three companies, Elon co-founded PayPal, the world's leading internet payment system, and served as its chairman and CEO. Before PayPal, Elon co-founded Zip2, a provider of internet software to the media industry. Elon has a physics degree from the University of Pennsylvania and a business degree from Wharton. Our second distinguished speaker is Professor Tian Yi, Dean of Tsinghua University School of Economics and Management. Dean Qian graduated from Tsinghua University in mathematics. He received his PhD in economics from Harvard University. Dean Qian was on the faculty of Stanford University, the University of Maryland, and the University of California, Berkeley. He was appointed as the Dean of the School of Economics and Management at Tsinghua in October 2006. Please give a warm welcome to both speakers as we invite them on stage to take their seats. Please. Guests from Tsinhua's faculty, Professor Zhu Bangfeng, Department of Physics, and academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Professor Ouyang Minggao, Department of Automotive Engineering, and Professor Zeng Rong, Chairman of the Department of Electronic Engineering. They are all senior faculty members in their respective departments and experts in their respective research areas. They will join the conversation this evening. Welcome. Now I would like to turn over to Dean Qian to kick off this forum. Dean Qian, please.
Thank you, Chong-En, for the introduction, and welcome to 2015 Tsinghua Management Global Forum. Each year, in connection with our advisory board meeting, which will take place tomorrow, we organize this global forum and each year we feature one board member. Last year was Tim Cook of Apple, and this year we are very, very honored to have Elon Musk to join us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I feel very honored and humbled to be with you tonight. By the way, all of the audience here, except some people from the media, all the students from Tsinghua, most of them not from the School of Economics and Management. They are from science, engineering, from Tsinghua X Lab, Tsinghua Accelerator, all these places. So most of them are science, engineering majors. They are the lucky ones because we have very limited seats available. So they are very, very lucky to have to secure seats here. They are all your admirer. You can see that the students are very enthusiastic, very keen to listen to your insights and stories and with them to share your insights with them tonight. We also broadcast this through CCTV in this building. There are some other classrooms. So for those people who could not get into this auditorium. Now, since we are in a university, most audience students, I would like to start my question from your college experiences. So I know that you moved from your home country South Africa to Canada to attend Queen's University for 2 years, and then you transfer to University of Pennsylvania. And in both places, you started as a business major, but then you added another major of physics. So I think all these students are interested to know that what the most important things you learned from college, in economics, in business, and in physics, how this college learning experience affect your later career. So tell us about your college experience.
Yeah, so it wasn't really, my college education wasn't really super well planned out. It was, in fact, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go to college at all in the beginning.
You were not even thinking about going to college at the beginning.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I should go or not. I originally moved to Canada when I was 17.
Not for college. Not for college.
Interesting music.
Oh, okay.
No, originally I wanted to get from South Africa to North America because it seemed like a lot of the cutting edge technology was being developed there.
Okay.
So I moved when I was 17 by myself, without my parents, and without really an explicit plan of going to college. Just that I wanted to be near where the technology seemed to be created.
That was your intuition, basically, at the time.
Yeah, well, every time I'd read about like some new technology, it seemed to be going to,
North America.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it has to be in North America.
Yeah. I like technology. So as soon as I got my Canadian passport when I was 17, I went to Canada against my parents' wishes, actually. They tried to convince me to stay.
You fled away from home, basically, from your parents.
I wanted to go where the technology was, and I couldn't convince my parents to move, so then I just moved myself.
Okay. Before age 18, you did that.
Obviously this was before the internet or anything, and so I wrote letters. I had some distant family in Canada. I wrote letters to them, but I didn't get any letters back, so I just... I had like a great uncle in Montreal, and when I arrived in Montreal, my mom finally got the letter back that said he was in Minnesota for the summer. So then I was just like, so I just stayed at like a student hostel and bought a bus ticket across Canada. Anyway, and so then I worked for several months in various computer-related roles, mostly in Toronto. And then I decided that I wanted to go to college because otherwise I would have a difficult time meeting girls. Because everybody was like much older than I was at the companies that I was working at. So it seemed like that I would be missing out on an important social experience. So that was really the deciding factor.
Why did you choose business to major at Queen's?
Well, I actually was considering two possibilities. One was to study computer engineering at the University of Waterloo.
Okay.
And the other one was to go to Queen's. And I went to Waterloo, and I saw there were not many girls there.
Not many girls there.
So that seems like, okay, that might not be so much fun.
So Queen's
then, yeah, so then I went to Queen's. Which did meet my wife there, so that worked out.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I just did a broad range of subjects, so e-commerce and engineering and math, and so it was kind of a broad range of subjects. And then somebody that had been at Queen's they transferred to UPenn Wharton, and they gave it a very good report, and so I thought, well, I'll apply to go there, and but I didn't have any money, so in order to go there I needed to get a scholarship, so I thought I would not get a scholarship, but I applied anyway, and then they did give me a scholarship. So,
wow, Wharton gave you a scholarship?
Yeah, UPenn, yeah. UPenn Wharton. Yeah.
Wharton, yeah. So you went?
Yeah, so then I could go because of that, and so then I was there. I finished the business courses in a year, but you have a minimum of 2 years.
I see.
So then I thought, well, I like physics, so I'll just study physics for the second year, and then I thought, well, I could either go to Wall Street, or go more into kind of a science and engineering thing, and I decided I'd rather do science and engineering. So I stayed an extra year and finished with the physics degree, and then went to Stanford with the idea of working on advanced capacitors for use in electric vehicles. And there was some fundamental physics involved, so it was kind of a combined physics and material science sort of program. But then I dropped out and started a company.
After how many days you drop out?
Yeah, like 3 days.
3 days?
Yeah. Like 2 or 3 days, yeah. Well, I went on deferment, technically.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still
They
can
said
go
I
back.
can come back.
You still can go back,
Yeah,
right?
they said I can come back for no tuition.
So you said you started in business and then studied physics. You found physics is more interesting or harder than business and or economics, or?
Yeah, my interest in physics and just in general in science was more from the standpoint of trying to understand the nature of reality. You know, what's it all about? What's the meaning of life? What questions should we ask about the nature of the universe? You know, that was really my main motivation. Actually, the only reason I studied business at all was I was worried that if I graduated and then I'd have to work for someone who had a business degree. Which wouldn't be that bad. But then if they knew special things that I didn't know, then I would have a disadvantage.
So basically, you just want to learn business. You want to develop some common language with your future bosses. That's the motivation?
Yeah, just like I was mostly afraid of having a boss that I didn't like.
Okay. So then you can become your own boss.
Yeah.
So you can avoid that problem, right?
Right. Exactly.
So you mentioned in many occasions that about physics. You like physics. You talk about first principles of physics that help you think complicated things and use. Right. So give us some examples. Why are the first principles of physics so important to shape your life or your way of thinking here?
Yeah, well, I think physics is essentially, I think, developed the best framework for understanding new things that are counterintuitive. Counterintuitive, yeah. So you take something like, say, quantum mechanics, which it's very counterintuitive. It doesn't seem as though reality should work that way, but it does, and it's experimentally verified to extremely high precision. And so the way that physics is able to make progress in this in these counterintuitive fields is by boiling things down to the most fundamental truths and reasoning up from there. I think this is a very important approach to, really the only approach that could work when you're trying to get into something new, where it's unexplored territory. Because normally the way we get through life is we think by analogy. So we essentially we do something. We basically do what everybody else is doing with minor variations. And that provides a mental shortcut. So the amount of thinking that's required to do that is not much. And that's fine for everyday life. We can't think all the time by first principles because it's just too compute intensive. But in trying to understand new things, this is extremely important.
You are making a point that if you really want to be original or creative, you have to think in terms of first principles. Everything go back to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
That will be creative or original. Otherwise, we're doing minor variations of using analogy, basically.
Well, you don't know what's really true or what's really possible if you reason by analogy. Analogies are very seductive, and they can sound very compelling, but an analogy is really just a story.
It's just a story.
It's just a story. And they can be very appealing, seductive stories, but it's really just a story.
Okay, I think that's very, very inspiring comments, because here we accustomed to the analogy things, because it's a shortcut, basically.
It's a shortcut.
It's a shortcut. So
and you need to do that most of the time.
Most of the time you do that.
Yeah, otherwise you couldn't get through your day.
Okay, in order to survive, you do that.
Yes,
but
exactly.
in order to be creative, original, you have to go back to the first principles, right?
Yes.
So that's the key
Yes.
to the thing. I think this is something. We have a professor of physics here, so Professor Zhu, you can you have a microphone there? Yes, please. Quantum mechanics. So that's out of my field.
So I'm very pleased to hear you like physics, in particular from the first principle.
First principle.
I want to know what's your opinion about the science education in high school. In China, it is well known that physics and science is important for the technology innovation. But the physics is a very tough course for students. Nowadays, China education experts think the American students study very easy and enjoy life, but the Chinese students have a very heavy workload.
Sure.
So Chinese education administrators want to reduce the working load of Chinese high school students. What's your opinion?
To reduce the physics courses in high school. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to be relatively pro-physics.
You are pro-physics.
Pro-physics, but I think the biggest issue is that physics is usually not taught in the right way. The way that physics is usually taught is as a series of rote formulas. Remember this formula, and this formula, and this formula, and the fundamental meaning is not conveyed. What do these things, what do these formulas represent in reality? It's incredible that there can be a formula that actually describes reality. That's amazing. And the wonder and awe of physics is not conveyed in classrooms. And it's very important also to teach to the problem and not to the tools. You can imagine, like, if you say, we want to understand how an internal combustion engine works, then the best way to do that is to say, okay, now let's take it apart and look at the pieces and then put it back together again. And then what tools would we need for this? Okay, we would need a screwdriver, we would need a wrench, we'd need maybe a winch, and these various tools. And then as you take the engine apart and you put it back together, you understand the reason for these tools. But if, on the other hand, you had a course on screwdrivers, a course on wrenches, that would be a terrible way to do it. And it's difficult to remember. And the way that our mind has evolved is to remember things that are relevant. And so unless you establish relevancy, it is very painful and difficult to remember things because they seem abstract and unimportant. So you have to establish the relevancy and importance and establish the why of things in order for the knowledge to naturally stay in your brain.
So physics is important, but should be taught differently.
Yeah.
Not just remember all the formulas, but have to attack the problems. What's the fundamental problems?
Yeah.
So I think that's the very, very interesting bit.
You want people to feel the amazement and awe and like feel incredible and feel like a story, not just a bunch of formulas that seem meaningless. Yeah.
Very good. So that's something that here at Tsinghua that's very relevant to our teaching of physics here. So now I want to move to what we are doing now. Now I brought this is a table, MIT Technology Review, 50 smartest companies, 2015. There are 50 smartest companies in the world. Now, Tesla Motors, SolarCity, and SpaceX occupy 3 places on this table. Number 1, number 9, and number 22. Isn't that amazing? I think for me or anyone here, if you have one company to be listed here, we'll be very proud of. But you have all 3. And Tesla is also on the first place, so that's quite incredible. So my question is, I know that these are the three companies you have been working with since 2001. So before that, you created two other companies, Zip2 with your brother, and X.com later becomes PayPal. That's very important detail. So my question is, before we get into each of these cases, is that in the early 2000s, when you sold the other companies, you started gradually these three, in addition to the capital you gained, of course, to invest in this, what are other lessons you learned from your 1990s experience as work as a founder of those ventures for your later, the next 15 years of in these three very different industries, aerospace, automobile, and clean energy. Apparently, there seems to be there's no connection between the two. The first two companies are all internet companies. So can you share with us some of your thoughts at the time and your just accident or that's by chance or no?
Well, not really. I mean, when I was in university, I thought I would like to be involved in things that would have a positive effect on the future, and things that would have a significant effect. And the five areas that I thought were that way were the internet, sustainable energy, making life multiplanetary, genetics, and AI. And the last two, I was thought those would be kind of a double-edged sword.
AI, artificial intelligence,
yeah,
and biology. So these two you have not got into.
Tangentially, I've gotten into them, I didn't think I'd actually be involved in all of them. But it turned out, at least for the first three, that I have been. But it was really more from the standpoint of I wanted to be involved in things that I thought would have a big effect on the future, as opposed to creating a company to create a company. In fact, in the beginning, I actually tried to get a job at Netscape. So it wasn't from the standpoint of trying to start a company, but in '95, Netscape was the only internet company really, and I sent in my resume, but I didn't get a reply.
You didn't get a reply from Netscape.
No.
So Netscape helped you a lot.
Well, and I even tried. I tried hanging out in the lobby, but I was too shy to talk to anybody. And so then I thought, okay, if I don't start a company, then I don't know what else to do.
Okay.
But it wasn't, and that's why I created my first company.
Okay, basically when you don't find a job or interview, that's a good opportunity for you to start your own company. That's the number one learned, all these students you have to follow.
But I mean, it's mostly the optimization I was trying to, I just wanted to do useful things, to be maximally useful. That's really the main thing.
Well, I think all these people here, that they want to do useful things. But think about, let's take an example of SpaceX. Okay? This is the area, traditionally, we would think this is exclusive for government to do it.
Right.
It's very high hurdle from technological point of view, from financial point of view, from regulation point of view. Many people, I guess, they want to get into this area, but they feel just impossible. But what made you think you could do it? And you started this in 2001, right?
2002.
2002.
But yeah, I can tell you the origin of SpaceX was really not from the standpoint of trying to create a company. In 2001, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was just wondering why we had not gone to Mars. Because if we had gone to the moon in 1969, then surely by now we should be very close to getting to Mars.
Okay, that's your original question.
Yeah.
Why now we get into Mars?
Yes. So I thought, well, I'll go on the NASA website to find out when we're going to Mars.
Okay.
And I went on the website and they couldn't find it. And then I learned that actually that had now been taken off of the NASA goals at that time. So I thought what I would do is try to do a philanthropic mission to send a small greenhouse to the surface of Mars, because the public responds to precedents and superlatives, and this would be the furthest that life's ever traveled, the first life on Mars as far as we know, and you have this great shot of green plants on a red background. And I thought that this would perhaps get the public excited enough to increase NASA's budget so that we could kind of resume the dream of Apollo. That was actually the origin. And I went to Russia 3 times to try to buy some used ICBMs to send the mission to Mars, and I did negotiate a deal, but I came to the conclusion that I was actually my premise was incorrect. I actually thought that the reason that we had not gone to Mars was because of a lack of will, but in fact, I think the will is there, but then people must believe that there's a way. If the people think that there's no chance of it being successful, then they will give up. So I decided that I had to try to start a company to reduce the cost of access to space, to improve rocket technology, because it had been essentially in stasis since the 60s. There's no fundamental improvement that's occurred. In fact, it's gotten worse on a cost per unit mass to orbit basis. So that was the basis for starting SpaceX. But at the beginning of SpaceX, I thought maybe there was a 10% chance of success.
10% chance?
Maybe, at most, yeah.
So you took the risk?
Yeah.
10%.
I mean, it seemed like if there was not something, if something wasn't done to improve the rocket technology, then we would never get there.
So Russian did not sell the rocket to you, or you thought it's too expensive, or so you want to develop your own?
Well, they actually, I did come to terms with the Russians, but then the only reason that the rockets were lower cost was because of arms reduction talks. So that they were essentially scrap rockets. So even if one could use those rockets, but once you ran out of the scrapped rockets because of arms reduction talks, then you'd be back up at the high prices again. Mm-hmm. So it was at most a short-term possibility. It would not result in a long-term benefit. It would certainly not result in the establishment of a self-sustaining city on Mars, which is really I think the goal that we should have in the space program.
Okay, now you have the will. Now you did some initial work. You contacted Russians, and you thought there's no progress made in the last few decades, so there's a possibility. But then, rocket science is very hard science. So you are not only a chief executive officer, but also chief technology officer. So your college degree is from business and physics. You only spent 3 days in a PhD program. So my guess is that, I'm pretty sure you're self-taught. You learned all these hard science engineering, computer programming, physics, and all others by yourself, engineering. How did you do that? Tell us, a student, that you can do that without going through the formal programs, basically.
Oh, sure. You can learn much faster than the formal programs.
You can learn faster than formal programs. Tell
faster.
us, share some secrets with us. How
Just
can
read
you do
lots
that?
of books.
Huh? Read a lot of books.
Read a lot of books and talk to a lot of people.
You can become a rocket scientist by reading books without...
Well, and experimenting, of course. I mean, experiments and books. You need to, because sometimes the things in the books are not correct.
Okay.
But that's basically how it works. I mean, you can learn things very quickly if you just read the books. I mean, information is all there.
You just pick up the books, you learn and become an expert in this hard science engineering area. You could do that.
Yeah. I mean, at the risk of sounding like a robot, your data rate in reading books is much faster than in a lecture. You can read information far, far faster than you can hear it. So then it's much faster to read.
Well, I'm a little bit worried we'll be out of a job now if that's the case. But Professor Zhu, that we teach many physics courses here, right, for physics majors. You probably have some questions here that about what courses there.
Yeah, I think junior students can self-study physics. But anyway, the physics is based on experiments, and in particular for the engineering, hard technology is also should to do some experiments, even to do some machine in the factory. How can you get such a real experience from self-study. And I have another question about what kind of physics course do you like most? Which physics course do you think most helpful for your company, for your creative thinking, for your wonderful companies?
Sure. Actually, the fundamentals of physics that's what's most helpful. The very framework of how to think about physics is by far the most helpful. And to sort of understand, how did the first scientists learn anything, and how did they change the way that they learned things? How did they change their framework of analysis over time as they learned that one mode was better than another? This is extremely helpful to know. So honestly, it's like Physics 101 is like if people really pay attention to Physics 101, that's the most valuable. And then, I thought quantum mechanics was really interesting too. It's amazing that quantum mechanics is true. It's still hard to believe, really.
So I'm thinking that to put quantum mechanics as a required course for School of Economics and Management students in the future. So
it's a hard one, I have to tell you.
It's a hard one?
Oh, yeah.
Which part is hard? Is mathematics part or principles part? Or which part is hard for quantum mechanics? It's counterintuitive.
It's extremely counterintuitive. So that you can't just use the way that you normally would think about the way that reality works, which you can in many other areas. So because you just don't have, your intuition is not a good guide, that makes quantum mechanics quite difficult. It also combines quite a lot of advanced math and statistics at the same time. So if you're very good at statistics, then quantum mechanics would really help. Yeah.
Okay, I did statistics.
Yeah.
So
I think statistics is quite hard too.
You like statistics?
Absolutely, yes. Statistics is very interesting. Very interesting. I think everyone should learn statistics too.
Everyone should learn.
Yeah, very important. Because otherwise you can get tricked too easily by these things. It's, as you know, there's that famous saying, I'm not sure who it was, maybe Churchill or somebody said, there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics.
That's right. There are 3 types of lies.
Yeah.
Did Churchill say this?
I think it was, maybe, I'm certain.
Huh? Disraeli said that.
Disraeli,
okay. Yeah, I know that.
This was some British guy.
Yeah. Very good. So now, so you have so it's been 13 years since you started SpaceX. I know your aspiration is to send human to Mars, and with reusable rockets, reduce the cost by a factor of 10.
I think ultimately a factor of 100.
Ultimately a factor of 100. Okay. Now, I remember you said in 2011 that at the time you said in 10 to 20 years you could put man or human on Mars. Now we are 2015, so that will actually happen, if your prediction is correct, will be 2020 or 2030. It's not that far away from now. Are you still optimistic?
I think about 10 years.
In 10 years?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly, by you?
Yeah, that's certainly, yeah. Well, I mean, there'll be a lot others, not just me, but we have a very talented team at the company. So, there's 5,000 people at SpaceX. So.
Yeah, it won't be easy, right? Reusable rockets, because NASA stopped space shuttle.
True.
It's a very expensive thing, so I'm not expert on that, but I guess it's not that easy. So why you are so confident that you could do this?
Well, I mean, at this point, I feel quite confident in at least achieving boost stage reusability, because we've been able to land the boost stage twice on the ocean, and we've been able to at least hit the ship twice. On the second time, it took several seconds for the rocket to explode. So we're making progress. I think I'm highly optimistic that in the next 12 months or so that we will be able to land the boost stage safely and refly it. I mean, that one is, I think, highly likely.
Highly likely.
90% plus.
Okay, what's the probability in 10 years that we'll see a person on Mars? What's the probability?
Well, I'd give the 10 years, I'd make that the sort of 50% likely.
50%.
It sort of depends on what happens with the world, and but if one were to extrapolate current trends for SpaceX, I think 2025 is around, approximately correct.
2025.
Yeah, approximately.
10 years from now, so that's...
Yeah, approximately. So, but I think the fact that reusability is important, this is an example of where first principles analysis makes sense, because if you were to look at, say, by analogy and say, well, let's look at prior efforts to achieve reusability, such as the space shuttle,
right,
or the Russian Buran program,
right,
and say, well, those attempts at reusability did not result in any improvement in the cost of spaceflight. In fact, they increased the cost of spaceflight. So the shuttle on a shuttle budget was about $4 billion a year, and there were typically 4 flights per year, so obviously the cost was roughly $1 billion a year.
Right.
And this was much more than an expendable rocket of equivalent payload capability. So then people would look at this and say, well, based on that, it would appear that reusability increases the cost; it does not decrease it. However, but this is not true if you look at it from a first principle standpoint, because if you look at, say, what is the cost of the propellant used if you use a low-cost propellant such as refined jet fuel, and in the case of our rocket, the propellant cost is approximately $300,000 per flight, but the rocket costs $60 million. So that's a pretty huge, difference. You've got the cost of propellant essentially 0.5% of the cost of the rocket. It's comparable to that of a large jet, essentially. And so obviously, if you can achieve reusability, you can start to approach the cost per flight. The cost per flight would asymptotically approach the cost of propellant. You're factoring in maintenance and other issues. And so if something similar to aircraft occurred with rockets, then you might have the cost of maintenance of both be roughly equivalent to the cost of fuel as it is with airlines, which would mean, say a $600,000 cost per flight over time, which would therefore be a 2 order of magnitude reduction.
So this is really a good example to show that think in terms of first principles, radically different from think using analogy, right? Using analogy, you will not find anything possible, but from the first principle.
Absolutely, and the same can be said of even building the rocket in a reusable configuration, building a rocket whether expendable or reusable, to say what should a rocket cost. One could look at what rockets have cost historically and say, well, that's what rockets will cost. Or you could say, what are the material constituents of the rocket? If you were to say, what is the weight of aluminum, titanium, Inconel, carbon fiber, and other elements, and if you had them sort of arranged in a pile in raw materials in the room and had a magic wand and could rearrange the elements into the shape that you want, then that would describe the minimum possible cost of any given physical object. And so then the trick is how you get them in the shape effectively. And if you do that, you can see that the actual cost of the raw materials in a rocket, again, expendable or reusable, is quite small. It's only a few % of the price. So then the trick is, how do you rearrange those raw materials into the shape you want efficiently?
Wow, the lesson is, again, go back to the first principle.
Right.
Everything goes back to the fundamental assumptions. I know that your dream, your aspiration is to send human to Mars, but your dream is to build a city on Mars. Is that true?
Well, if you think of it sort of broadly, the history of human civilization will fundamentally bifurcate along 2 directions. Either we will become a multi-planet civilization, be out there exploring the stars, or we will be a one-planet civilization until some eventual extinction event, whether self-inflicted or natural. And I think the sort of former is the better way to go. And in order for that to be the case, we have to establish a self-sustaining civilization on some planet. Mars is really the only realistic possibility. And so I think we should try to do that. And this is the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth that it's been possible for some life form to extend life as we know it beyond Earth. That window may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. The prudent thing would be to assume that it's open for a short time and take action while we can.
Very good. So that's really your dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think
One
that's
of dreams.
in the sort of context of existential threat minimization. I think it is something we should aspire to.
From the first principle of physics, you think that's also possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. So now, your name's very closely associated with Tesla Motors, because Tesla is a public company, SpaceX is not, and also Tesla make cars that's for consumer markets, so it's very natural that people know you through the Tesla cars. Now, I know that there are many car makers are making electric cars. You have a Nissan Leaf, you have a GM Chevrolet Bolt, you have Ford Focus. I mentioned these three because the three CEOs of these companies are on my advisory board. But none of them are here today. I will be there tomorrow. So there are a lot of competition here. Everybody knows that EV or electric cars is the way to go. Now, I know that you are different. You are not from Detroit. Your Tesla is located in the Silicon Valley, and it's a very different type of company, different type of philosophy, etc. So what makes you think that you have the advantage over those traditional car manufacturers or some potential entrants from other Silicon Valley companies? I don't want to name, but there are many there. So tell us about your idea about the Tesla cars. And
well, sure. Well, I mean, it's similar to SpaceX. I thought the chances of success of Tesla in the beginning were extremely low. I mean, the history of car company startups in the United States, or probably elsewhere too, is not a very good one. There's a large graveyard filled with attempted car company startups. And in fact, in the history of the U.S. automotive industry, thus far, only Tesla and Ford have not gone bankrupt.
only Tesla and Ford.
Yeah, everyone else is like...
You studied the history of that.
Yeah, they're all, yeah.
So the probability you assigned at the beginning, the success or the survival of Tesla was even smaller than SpaceX.
Well, I
about
think
the
both
same.
comparably tiny.
10%.
Yeah, not knowing anything else. And I wouldn't say that that assessment was particularly off, because we came very close to dying many times for both Tesla and SpaceX. Mm-hmm. I mean, for SpaceX, the first 3 launches didn't work.
Yeah.
I only budgeted for a maximum of 3 flights, and fortunately we scraped together a 4th flight, and the 4th flight did work. Mm-hmm. But if that 4th flight hadn't worked, that would have been it. And then for Tesla, many times we came close to bankruptcy, and all the way to the financing round at the end of 2008. We closed the financing round on the last hour of the last day that it was possible, which was Christmas Eve, 2008. And if we hadn't closed that, we would have gone bankrupt a few days after Christmas. So I think we've really very narrowly survived. Now, today, I think both companies are in a much stronger position. So,
Sure.
Tesla's got the Model S and now the Model X coming out, and SpaceX has contracts with a large number of companies. In fact, most of our launch contracts are actually commercial. A lot of people think it's mostly NASA, but it's actually mostly commercial, launching communications and broadcast satellites. So we made it through some quite difficult times. But I think the probability of success was low. So I do think there was some good fortune in our survival.
You think you are lucky, or you think there's something else there?
I think we're at least partly lucky, yes. So,
Partly lucky.
at least partly lucky, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
And Model S and Model X, they are all quite expensive and luxury cars. So people want to have a great and affordable cars. Your future Model 3, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. Will be. So there will be many this type of cars because that will be the defining moment to decide which company will win the market.
Oh,
That's the wrong way to think.
I think there will be many winners. Yeah, the car industry is very big, and there's almost 100 million new cars and trucks built every year. There's 2 billion cars and trucks in the fleet, and the most market share that any one car company has is 10%. Mm-hmm. So I think there's certainly room for many winners in the electric vehicle space, and there will be. So I think it's really, it's not a one company takes all or anything like that. I think it's not an industry where there's a natural monopoly. It's a sort of naturally quite a competitive industry, and I think all cars all transport, with the ironic exception of rockets, will go fully electric. I think this is very obvious.
Everything goes to electric.
Absolutely.
Everything. Airplane.
Everything except rockets.
Except rocket.
Yeah. It's difficult to overcome Newton's third law.
So there's still room to do electric rocket for the future. No? You are so sure no here.
You need to react a mass. So unless because once you're in vacuum, there's nothing to push against. So unless you shoot something out the end, it's not going to work.
Okay. Now let's talk more about cars. Your concept of cars is a bit different, I feel, from others. You consider them as pets. Somewhere I read. It may be wrong.
Sort of. I mean,
sort of. You have to take care of that. You have, for example, you're doing many things. For example, this thing it's called OTA, the over-the-air. You can upgrade softwares. You don't have to go to garage. This is a different kind of experience. This is something that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I just think over-the-air updates are kind of normal. That's what people have come to expect in consumer electronics devices. I mean, if you had a phone that didn't do over-the-air updates, it would be pretty strange. So we're really just doing the things that would be considered normal for phones or laptops and applying them to a car. An electric car is basically just a laptop on wheels.
It's laptop on wheels.
Yeah.
So this is your concept of cars. It's electric cars.
Yeah. So it's maybe seems unusual for the car industry, but it's quite normal for consumer electronics. Mm-hmm. And so we're just doing the normal thing, really.
You think this is very natural?
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, this reminds me of cell phones. The concept cell phone used to be you make phone calls. Now everybody has this smartphone, has many functions there, help you locate and do many things, but making phone calls is just a tiny part of that. So the cars in the future will be a very different concept from the cars today. It's not just a moving vehicle.
Well, I think the where things are going to go is to full autonomy electric.
Full autopilot?
Yeah.
Is that called autonomous cars or driverless cars? What's the name for that?
Well, I think the autonomy grows in steps. Mm-hmm. We released Autopilot version 1, which is a sort of semi-autonomous capability for the car. Mm-hmm. And this will get better rapidly over time. My guess is that within 3 years or less, there'll be cars production cars that you could buy that are fully autonomous, pending only regulatory approval.
Okay, there's no technological problem there. It's just a regulatory problem there.
Yes.
You think the day will come, if you think further ahead, that it will be illegal for human to drive a car. Is that possible?
I don't want it to be illegal. I think that some jurisdictions may decide that it's unsafe for people to drive cars in the future.
Unsafe, yeah.
But this is not something I mean, I'm in favor of people being able to drive their cars, but it's possible that some jurisdictions may make it illegal to drive a car because it's too dangerous.
Okay, there are some jurisdictions on Earth
They may.
would make illegal for human to drive car because it's too dangerous.
They might.
Okay, that's
Statistically
really...
speaking, this will be true for sure.
But now
Meaning,
the
yeah.
regulators face the problem that without a driver, they're considered to be too dangerous, right?
Correct.
Right now, so you are really thinking that in the opposite way.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the point at which an autonomous system is demonstrably statistically safer than a human driver, the question will be, should you allow this or not? But this will be up to various communities to decide whether something that's more dangerous than a person driving, or if it's more dangerous for a person to drive, should this or should it not be illegal? And some will probably make it illegal.
Okay, so this is the legal and regulatory issues, but not the technological issues at all.
Correct.
Correct.
Technologically, this will be no problem in 3 years. No problem.
We have an expert here on electric cars, Professor Oh Yang. He is a senior professor from our automotive engineering department. So Tsinghua has a department of automotive
That's great.
engineering. So he is expert on the electric cars. So
Yeah.
you must have some questions.
I would like to mention something happened in China. The EV output volume is approximately 150,000 this year in China. It's the number one in the world.
150,000 electric cars made
Yes.
in China,
In
this,
China
year.
this year, yes.
It's the number one in the world.
Number one.
That's
in the world.
great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also have the high-speed electrified railway, okay, and also large amount of e-bike, 200 millions, something like that. So, what your value about the role of China in the global transportation electrifications, and also what role will Tesla Motors play in the EV development in China? And what the special plan do you have to serve the middle-income Chinese customer?
Sure. Well, I think it's very impressive that China has such a high number of electric vehicles being built. I think that's great. And I was also really impressed to read about the CO2 cap and trade plans for China. So I think this is great that China is becoming a world leader, or is a world leader in sustainable energy, both on the production and consumption side. So I think that's a really, really cool thing. From a Tesla standpoint, we're doing our best to help others in the industry. So we've taken our patents and we've made our patents open source or just freely available. So any company can use our patents at no cost. So I think that hopefully that is helpful. They don't even have to tell us that they're using them. So it's hopefully that is being helpful to some companies in China. And then of course, as we create new cars, then those can be case examples of what's possible with an electric car. And part of the reason, for example, we try to achieve very high performance numbers, like very high 0 to 100 kilometer acceleration, is to show that an electric car can be a really fun, high performance car, and it doesn't have to be slow. So we were trying to make electric cars cooler than gasoline cars. I think this is very important. But yeah, I think it's very exciting what's happening in China on the electric vehicle front, and I think what the government is doing to encourage electric vehicles is great. So I think a very promising future, I think.
Yeah, I think the most difficult things is to balance the non-range and the cost. What do you have a special things Tesla can do in this aspect?
Yeah, I think With our third generation car, Model 3, that will be half the price of the Model S. Long term, we also expect to do local production in China, which will help quite a lot because we currently have to pay quite high import duties, which increases the cost of the car to consumers in China. So we are, in the long term, with local production, they wouldn't have the import duties, and the car would be at much higher volume, and it's designed to be an affordable car. So effectively, it would be maybe a third of what the current car costs in China. Yeah.
Only 1/3 of the cost.
Yeah, it would be sort of one half, but then factoring in local production, it would be 1/3.
1/3.
Yeah, something like that.
So that will be a truly affordable car.
Long range as well.
And then long range.
Yeah.
So there's no technological difficulties there, or you think you solved that already, or you are still on the way to do?
Well, we're about 2 years away from.
You are 2 years away from
something
that.
Like that.
Yeah. Same as you. I do feel confident about the better technology and the EV's future. However, the market share currently is below 1%.
Right now.
Right now.
Worldwide or in China? Everywhere. 1%.
Yeah, below 1%.
Below 1%.
Below 1%.
Yeah. Very low.
So, what's your prediction about the future in 5 years, 10 years? And how do you think how long the electric vehicle can replace conventional cars? And what make you believe your conclusion is reasonable?
Sure. So about 5 years ago, I bet with a friend that 20 years from then, so 15 years from now, a majority of all new cars produced would be electric. So 15 years from now, I'm highly confident that more than half of all new cars produced will be electric.
So by 2030, more than 50% of new cars produced are electric.
Yeah, so it will still take a long time to change out the fleet because the new car production capacity is about 100 million and the fleet is 2 billion because the average age of a car before it's sort of scrapped is about 20 years. So even at the point when it's more than 50% of new cars produced are electric, it will still take a long time for the fleet to become electric.
Of course.
But I feel very confident that in making that prediction.
So you think China will have an even bigger share in comparison to other countries?
I think probably China will have the biggest share.
Because?
Because China is, in terms of industrial capacity, China will have the biggest industrial capacity in general for everything.
For everything?
Almost everything.
Almost everything.
Maybe not every industry, but certainly in terms of macro industrial output, no question, China will have the most.
Yeah,
So,
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
So in order electric cars work, in addition to car itself, you need a battery and the electric charging infrastructure. You need a network. You need a huge infrastructure here. Now China, has this reputation that they can, China build infrastructure very quickly and at a massive scale. Do you think that this is also the area that China could actually leapfrog to other advanced countries because this infrastructure requires a lot of investment, but investment is needed to increase China's growth rate, for example, and the government has some ability to do that with resources. So what do you think of compare China, this infrastructure investment in China and in the US or Europe or other developed countries?
My guess is China will be in the lead in this area. Certainly, I mean, there's possible that some of the smaller countries may be ahead, but of any large country, it's very likely that China will be in the lead in this front.
Which small country is that?
Well, there's small like Norway is really
Norway.
Okay, but Norway's great. I love Norway. They're awesome leaders in electric. Norway's the leader in electrification on a percentage basis.
On percentage basis.
Yes. Yeah.
But among large countries, you think
Among
China?
large countries, China for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very good. So that's also good for growth. I'm an economist. So we are looking for places that make useful investment, not wasteful investment. So I think this is the area. Electric charging infrastructure, all these things.
I do. Well, I also think it's actually going to be easier than people realize, because electrification is already quite widespread. I mean, it's rare that someplace doesn't have electricity.
Right.
And most electric car charging will occur at home, and then some at the office, and then for long distance. So I think a lot of times people think, well, you have to have charging stations all over the place like you have gasoline stations, but this is not true. You only need to really have charging at home, at the office, and then for long distance purposes. But with the exception of certain municipalities where if you have street parking, you need some way to charge a car for street parking. But this is on a total population basis, this is a small percentage of the population. But certainly in places like Beijing or Shanghai, you would need to have some sort of, that's where government help is important, because people need some place to charge their car. Essentially, wherever their car spends the night or the day, that's where the charging needs to be. But it doesn't need to be at like supermarkets and convenience stores and that kind of thing. That's not necessary. People will end up charging their car where they charge their phone.
I think you're quite right in terms of rational analysis, in terms of physics, but there is a psychological problem here, right? People's anxiety, people thought they need a lot of charging stations, otherwise they are afraid. This is the anxiety there. There's a psychological problem to overcome.
Yeah, I think it's really just a psychological problem. The reality is, if you have an electric car, you'll have no problem. If you have a long-range electric car, so you need to have at least, sort of on the 400 or 500 kilometer range. If you have that level of range, then charging is never a problem.
So you're saying that the main problem is psychological problem.
It's just, yeah, exactly. So it's just people getting used to the idea.
So we need to have a psychology course here again.
Right.
Okay. Very good. So now I want to move to another company you helped create, that's SolarCity. It's a clean energy. In one of the three areas you want to make a difference. Now, actually the Chinese have been very enthusiastic in this area. Yeah. Perhaps over enthusiastic to such extent where in the last couple of years several big companies actually ran into the problems. You probably know that some famous Chinese photovoltaic generation, energy generation companies that went bankrupt. So, in your case, the SolarCity, what's your secret of the success, avoiding these missteps or the traps? So, what's the business model or the technology or what?
Well, I mean, it should be said that China is the largest producer of photovoltaics today. So, although there have been some prominent bankruptcies, nonetheless, China is the leading producer of photovoltaics, and I think that's a pretty great thing.
Well, with a lot of government subsidies, and yes, a lot of, I know, the huge production, but economically or financially, that's...
I mean, the subsidy question is an interesting one because, I mean, in general, as a general rule, and since you obviously, as an economist, I think you'd probably agree that generally government intervention in the economy is usually not the best idea, but I think the reason for that is you don't want to increase the error in the economy. So prices are just information, and so if a government action causes the information error to increase, that will generally result in a negative impact on the economy. I mean, I think at a meta level, the government should really be thinking is how do they reduce the information error in the prices in the economy? And like I said, usually subsidies increase the error, they don't decrease the error. However, in the case of sustainable energy, I think anything that places a price on carbon is reducing the error in the economy. So to the degree that one believes that the CO2 capacity of the oceans and atmosphere is a public good that is being consumed at zero cost, anything that causes that cost to be above zero is reducing the pricing error in the economy. Now, generally, taxing CO2 is not a popular thing. So therefore, what the government tries to do is to subsidize low-carbon activity. So like photovoltaics and electric vehicles and that kind of thing. So this is not as good as pricing CO2, of course. Pricing CO2 would be the best thing. But that's really what's occurring, is to try to even the subsidies on clean energy or on electric vehicles. It's an attempt to correct the pricing error of CO2 producing entities. So another way to think of it is there is a huge subsidy on anything that's CO2 producing that is not being paid.
Now I can see you did study Econ 101. So basically you make this argument,
I'm
right?
a big fan of Econ 101.
You're fond of Econ 101.
Yeah,
you found
it's
it
great.
as useful
Everyone
as
should do Econ
Physics 101? You think they're equally
Econ
useful?
101, Physics 101, those are great subjects.
Okay.
Fundamentals of economics, everyone should understand that.
Yeah. I've been teaching Econ 101 at Tsinghua for the last 12 years.
I loved Econ 101. It was
You
one
like
of my favorite
Econ
subjects.
101. Good, very good. So now back to the question that what's your secret that to make this Solar City company very successful, avoiding the many pitfalls of other similar companies? Business model or?
Sure. In the case of Solar City, if you looked at the cost, the fully installed cost of solar power, it became apparent that the non-panel portion of the cost was really dominating. So essentially the cost of designing a solar installation for a rooftop and getting the solar panels there and installing it and doing the wiring, connecting the inverter and the permitting and the maintenance and all these things which were largely unglamorous and not sort of hard to set their technologies in and of themselves, but they are actually technologies. But essentially, the balance of system costs were dominating the fully installed cost of solar power, and so that was really where entrepreneurial energy was needed. And so I was able to convince two of my cousins, who are very capable entrepreneurs, to start a company in solar to address this essentially the non-cell portion of the cost of installed solar.
So you identified the problem. You asked your two cousins to do it.
Yeah.
What was their background? They are engineers or they are what?
One's engineering and one's sort of more on the kind of sales and overall leadership.
Leadership.
Yeah, they're both very good guys, and they'd actually created a company that I had nothing to do with, called Everdream, that was developed to do large-scale management of computers and computing devices. So if you're somebody like, say, FedEx, and you've got 60,000 computers around the world, how do you manage all those computers? So they created software for managing huge numbers of computing devices from a central location, and which actually works out well for managing then millions of solar rooftops from a central location. And so they were able to do that. Now, in the case of that, I thought there was a higher probability of success than Solar City or than Tesla or SpaceX. I thought there was a good chance of success in that situation. And they've done an amazing job. I basically for Solar City, I just show up at the board meetings to hear the good news. That's my contribution.
You are chairman of the board.
Yeah.
And you are a large shareholder.
Yeah.
So you give advice, basically. Your cousins doing the work.
Yeah, just some advice here and there, but it's really, the credit is all them.
Okay, it's a publicly listed company also.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So this is, we have also experts from EE, the electric engineering. Tsinghua has a very good EE department. Our founding dean, Zhu Rongji, you're going to meet tomorrow. He graduated from this department. They do a lot of energy-related issues, so I will invite him to ask questions.
Thank you. And I got to know that Solar City will build 2 solar plants for Apple in Sichuan provinces. Yeah, and I know, and it's a good news for you, I think. in China, we plan to install about 600 gigawatts in the next 15 years for solar. So, what I want to know is could you give us your vision about the future energy world? And what do you want to do most in your energy plan, your energy dream? Okay, thank you.
Sure. Well, I think what I hope Solar City does is accelerate the advent of solar power, and this becomes really just an economic question. The lower the expected cost of energy from solar, the faster it will be adopted. And I think there's good progress being made every year. Although it is hampered by the fact that CO2 producing power is effectively not paying its way. They're not paying for the CO2 capacity of the oceans and atmosphere. But despite that impediment, I think solar power is making progress and will continue to grow every year, albeit not as fast as it should grow, but it will continue to grow every year. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm answering your question quite, but yeah.
I just want to know what's your vision about the energy system or infrastructure or in the world?
The mix.
In the world.
Like what percentage do I think will be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think in the long term, a majority, probably a supermajority of all energy production will be photovoltaics. Essentially, we have a giant fusion reactor in the sky called the sun, and it's very handy. And I think people don't quite realize just how much energy reaches the Earth from the sun. It's 1 gigawatt per square kilometer. Mm-hmm. That's the solar incidence on Earth. So, in fact, if you took if you took most nuclear plants and you took the clear area around a nuclear plant, which is usually quite significant, and you just put solar panels on that clear area, you would usually generate more energy from the solar panels than you would from the nuclear plant.
Yeah. Okay. And I just have another question. Sure. I think you, people, the SpaceX and the Tesla are very different. Is there anything common among these three things?
Which three? PayPal?
Yeah, PayPal.
Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla and the SpaceX.
Yeah. Anything common?
Yeah, anything common?
Other than it's all done by him, right? Other than this factor, what things in common?
Yeah.
I think there are commonalities between any sort of new technology development. I think new technology is developed in a similar way. So I mean, PayPal was really a software company, a software technology company. Yeah. And obviously Tesla is a sort of car and energy storage technology company. SpaceX is a rocket technology company. And the way in which one, say, organizes engineers to achieve a particular outcome in technology development is the same, I think, in any arena.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to follow up on that path to ask some general question, not specific to Solar City or SpaceX or Tesla, because I think because you raised the issue, there might be some common things there. You mentioned earlier that you actually SpaceX and Tesla faced very, very difficult times, almost died, particularly in 2008 before the Christmas. NASA gave you a call. And then the Tesla got in the last moment, got the finance. All happened before the Christmas Eve, at the Christmas Eve, right? So this is, for anybody, it's a huge pressure, a real danger there. So how did you survive this? And you think you have a conviction, or you think you are lucky, or you think it's in your DNA, you fight to the last minute? All these things. So what's your personal experience during those very difficult times? I think that's share that with students, maybe help them when they face difficulties or encounter those difficult times? What do you do? It's just...
I think it's a very difficult thing to create a company, honestly. I'm not sure I would recommend it. I mean, generally the way that things go with creating a company is that in the beginning they seem quite optimistic. You know, there's sort of this initial period of optimism and possibility, and that might last for 6 months, maybe as much as a year, and then there's usually several years of extreme pain followed by failure. That's normally
That's normal.
That's normal.
That's normal. So
yes.
then, how to deal with that? How to go through that? You need a
I think
strong
you
will,
should.
or just...
Yeah, I mean, I think you should only do it if you think that there's a really compelling reason to do it. You know.
What's the compelling reason?
I think it varies by individual. You know, in my case, it was just I thought it was important to make progress with electric cars and space technology, I mean, my initial thought was, for SpaceX and Tesla and Solar City to a lesser extent, was that I would take half the money that I made from PayPal, and then if I lost half the money, that would be fine because I would still have.
You still have the other half.
The other half, it's no problem. But this is not how it works, you know. And I mean, I think
You put in more than half in the end.
I think this is true for a lot of people, but for me, it was like the company becomes like a child.
Okay, company is a child.
Yeah, and so then, how do you say that your child should not have food?
They should have food.
Right.
So, okay, think your company as a child. Then, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
This is not first principles. This is an analogy. It's a good analogy.
Right.
So this is a takeaway, right, from this. So this gives you the strong will to do things. And plus, you feel you are lucky.
I think so. Yeah. It was a close call.
It's a close call.
Yeah.
It's a close call. Yes, indeed. Now, I know that you read a lot. You just mentioned that you are self-taught, space technology, energy, many other computer programming, many other things. Now, I'd like to know that what do you read other than technology? Books. What do you like most in science fiction, philosophy, religion, history, or even biography? Can you share with us that what do you like most in those non-technological books?
I think books on history are really interesting.
History.
History.
Interesting.
Yeah. History, biographies. I mean, there's a lot to be learned from the lessons of history.
Some examples of...
Oh, there's a lot of examples.
Yes.
I think just in general, to read about interesting people through history and the difficulties they faced and how they overcame them. Mm-hmm. This is, I think, really compelling. I mean, I think just reading in general is great. I mean, reading, amazing people like Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
It's one of my favorites.
One of your favorites, Shakespeare.
How can you not be, of course?
Okay.
There's just a lot of amazing things. I'm a big fan of Ben Franklin. You know.
Ben Franklin, big inventor.
Yeah.
Among other things.
Among other things, and he did the right thing at the right time.
He did right thing at the right time.
Right.
So you're also thinking you are doing right thing at the right time.
That's
another analogy.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I mean, certainly, all these, Newton, Einstein, Darwin. Darwin's a great writer. Darwin's a great writer, by the way.
Great writer.
Great writer, yeah.
So you believe in his evolutionary theory?
Yeah,
sort of.
Seems likely to be true. Yeah.
Seems to be true. So you like science fiction too, right?
I do. I think the thing about science fiction is that it's free from the normal constraints.
Yes.
Whereas books that are sort of set in the known context or the normal context they can be interesting to read, but they're within a confined framework. A limited set of the degrees of freedom are limited, whereas in science fiction, there are many more degrees of freedom. I mean, recently I was reading the books by Ian Banks, the Culture series. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's really super good. But I'm a big fan of Asimov and Heinlein.
Okay.
Arthur C. Clarke and those guys. I think there's a lot of amazing books in science fiction, a lot of really interesting ideas.
So you got inspiration from it, or got some ideas from it? Because it's free of many constraints that we used to face.
Right, exactly. I must have got, I think I certainly got inspired by a lot of the science fiction books.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of really have this incredible imagination. I mean, it's sort of, if you can, imagine going out and, exploring the stars, that would be an amazing thing. So I think we want to be on a path to making sure that those books are not always fiction. Like one day we want them to be true.
Mm-hmm. So give you inspiration,
right,
for that. Have you heard the science fiction book of China? The most famous one is called Three Body. Have you heard that?
No, I should read it probably.
It was translated into English.
Okay.
I recently got some huge prize. So this is the best known China's science fiction thing. It's called Three Body. Okay.
I'll get a copy.
You got a copy of that. So. And do you think you are more an engineer or an entrepreneur?
Well, I suppose probably. I mean, if those are the two choices, I'd say probably more an engineer. But I just like to. I just like to try to be useful. Like, I try to be a usefulness.
You try to be useful. You try to be useful.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that usefulness means that one has to do something entrepreneurial. Sometimes it's an engineering thing. It's just, usefulness.
Because you already answered my next question. My question is, what kind of person you want to be? Basically, you are saying you want to be useful.
Yes.
Is that the, so what? So, what kind of person you want other people think you are?
I suppose the same thing.
Same thing. People think you are useful.
Yes.
Doesn't matter as engineer, doesn't matter as entrepreneur, and try to be useful.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the legacy you want to leave? Or you have not thought about it?
I think that's a good general optimization. I think that's generally, if someone does something and think that was useful, that was productive, helped fellow human beings, then that's a good outcome. So
far, you are in the early 40s. So you are pretty satisfied with what you have done so far?
Yeah. It seems to, so far so good,
So far so good.
Yeah.
You want to go to Mars in your lifetime?
Yeah, whether I go to Mars or not is, I'd like to go to Mars, but that's neither here nor there. Hopefully that the technologies that SpaceX develops can enable large numbers of people to go to Mars, mm-hmm. and to and hopefully, makes good progress towards helping humanity become a spacefaring civilization.
Okay, before the meeting, I had a discussion with Professor Zhu. He has a counterfactual question for you. So,
so you are very, very successful. But if time could be reversed, how could you design and rechoose your career, your life, your education, and make them most perfect? Well, what's your advice to the students of Tsinghua? There are a lot of people who will take you as an example. Or what's your advice to them?
Sure. Well, I think it's a good idea to study a broad range of subjects. A lot of innovation comes through cross-fertilization from one area to another, because increasingly, as our knowledge base grows, we've become quite sort of siloed in our in our knowledge. So you'll have someone who's very specialized in one area or another area, and then but if you can combine these specialties and create something that's greater than the sum of the parts, there's a lot of opportunity for innovation by doing that. So that's why I encourage people to study a broad range of subjects, and to study, if somebody's in engineering, to study economics, to study literature, and to study many different fields. You gain. I mean, I'd encourage someone to do like the 101 of almost everything. Anything that they find intrinsically interesting, and to think how they might combine things from one discipline to another. I think this is a great way to come up with new ideas.
Now, this is what we have been doing here at the School of Economics and Management. We call it general education. And also at the university, also Tsinghua is also moving, put more emphasis on general education rather than the too early specialization or this type of thing. So we think that's something that's very important.
Yeah, I think having a good general knowledge is very important. And then even once specialization occurs, if somebody specializes in, say, 2 areas where you can achieve a combination of
the 2.
Yeah, that's where I think great opportunity exists.
To that, yeah. So in addition to this general knowledge, but also you know that this year in particular that the Chinese are very enthusiastic about entrepreneurship, startups, and many Tsinghua students here want to build China's Tesla, SolarCity, PayPal, etc. So what advice you can give to these students? Is that a good thing to start a company in college or during the graduate studies? Or what are the important characteristics for being entrepreneurial, even without starting up your own company?
Sure.
So what are the general advice you can give to these the younger generation?
Well, I think if you identify something that some need in society or some want, and then that's really it. And a good way is if you can see that this is something that you would really want, or your friends would really want it, and then you need to sort of find like-minded people, group them together, and then try to solve that want or need. That's really it. And the best time to do it is when you're in college or just finished with college, because your obligations are low. You don't have a family to support, or times when your obligations are low. This is when you should take the most amount of risk.
So it's a personal decision because we know there are famous entrepreneurs. Some of them drop out of college after 1 semester. You know who I'm talking about. There are some who drop out after 2 years. And you drop out of a PhD program in 3 days, but you finished college with double degrees.
I did, although I did have an external reason for that, which is that if I didn't, I would have to leave the U.S. because I didn't have a green card. So I had to stay in.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to stay in university, otherwise they would kick me out.
Oh, there is a practical reason for that.
Yeah.
So then you got your green card because you are there.
Yeah, and I think also for the PhD program, the value that I saw there was that Stanford had all these great labs that I could just use for free, and that would be for developing electric car technology, that would be very helpful.
You did use Stanford lab?
No, I was going to.
You're going to.
Yeah,
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Stay on campus to use for free labs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very, very great
Universities have all
idea.
these resources.
They have the resources. Yes, indeed, the university has a lot of resources, underutilized.
Yeah, exactly.
So we should have this interesting, very interesting. Now, we have very limited time, but now I still want the students to ask some questions.
Sure.
So now the floor is open for students, but we'll give priority to students. So please identify yourself first, which school you're from, and make your question very short, and concise. Only one question, not 2 or 3 questions. Okay? Now we have.
Here's my question. Can I take a selfie with you? Okay, no, probably not. Another question. Well, I read about a lot of blogs written by Tim Urban. Talk about you a lot. And there's one article that I read about. Okay, it's about the AI. Some days later, we will reach the AI, probably by 2060. And you want to send people to Mars because you want to have a backup of human beings. So the AI, when the AI reaches the God point, it doesn't matter whether we have a backup or not, because either we're going to go extincted or we're going to be eternal. So what's the point for you to move people to Mars when you know that we are going to reach the God point? That's my question. Thank you.
Well, I think that making life multiplanetary, or life as we know it multiplanetary, extends the probable lifespan of civilization, or life as we know it, substantially. Because certainly we will be protected against a natural disaster, such as an asteroid collision, or a supervolcano, or some sort of internal shifting of Earth's magnetic field. There's a bunch of potential life extinguishing things that can occur, as has occurred many times in the fossil record. So just for that alone, I think it's worthwhile to become multiplanetary. And then there's also the self-extinguishment possibility. I certainly hope there isn't a World War III, but there could be one. And if there is a World War III in the future, it may be quite devastating, given the power of technology today. And so then it would be good for us to be a multi-planet civilization at that point. And then, but I think there's the defensive reasons for becoming multiplanetary are not as compelling to me as the exciting, inspiring reasons. I just think that if we were to create a city on Mars, it would be a very exciting adventure. I think the most exciting adventure that I could possibly imagine. It would be very inspiring, and I think even for people that don't go, it would be very inspiring. Just as the Apollo program was inspiring for the whole world, even though only a handful of people went. In a sense, we all went to the moon. And it's important that there be things that are inspiring and exciting. If life is just about solving one miserable problem after another, why live at all?
Why live at all?
Yeah.
Wow, very profound question here. So let's have a question on this side. We just have this. That one.
Good evening, Mr. Musk. Firstly, it's so exciting for us to meet you here in our school. You are really the hero of the Chinese boys who are interested in business and technology just like me. And also, I think the dream lover of the girls, I guess.
So what's your question?
Sorry, I'm a member of the Accelerator. I graduated from Tsinghua ICM, and there are many people here. We are all running our own companies. My question is, as we know, the innovation from 0 to 1 is becoming more and more important for our economy. As the genius in this part, could you give us, the young entrepreneurs, some suggestions how we can to break up the traditional mindset and find a new continent in business? Thank you.
So you mean just sort of advice on sort of how to make your company succeed? And is that really what you're sort of like? What's good general entrepreneurial advice?
What's the question again?
Give us some suggestion in innovation for the startup company. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Well, I think I've touched on a few of those areas already, which would be, it's good to cross-fertilize different domains. So if you look at, say, what's being done in one domain and see what part of that is perhaps transferable to another domain, if you combine them, that can be quite helpful. So like, for example, with rockets and cars, the auto industry is very good at producing large, complex mechanical objects at low cost. It's remarkable how little a car costs given its complexity. And so applying those manufacturing techniques to rocketry is very helpful. And going the other direction, the rockets are very good. The rocket industry has become extremely good at mass optimization, making things very, very light. Because if you don't make them light, you can't reach orbit. So then taking those advanced design techniques for making things very light to cars can then help with making a lighter car, which in turn allows the car to have greater range. So that's sort of an example of cross-fertilization. And also we talked a lot about kind of first principles analysis of really boiling things down to what seem to be the most fundamental truths in a particular industry, and then reasoning very carefully up from there to reach conclusions. And then I think it's always good to solicit as much negative feedback as possible, and particularly from friends. Like your friends usually, if there's something that's not quite right with your product or company, your friends probably know, but they're not telling you. So you have to coax it out of them. And for people that care about you, they will tell you if you really want to know, and that they feel you won't be hurt by the answer. It doesn't mean they're always right, but you should try to get as much critical feedback as possible. One should always take the approach that whatever you're doing is some degree wrong, and you want to minimize the degree to which it is wrong.
So he is from it's called Accelerator. Our school created two entrepreneurship platforms. One is called X Lab, another is called Accelerator. So we like letter X. I know you like letter X very much. You started from X.com, and you have a SpaceX. You have a Model X. Like you are even a trustee of an X Prize Foundation.
The triple X situation going on here.
Well, I try to find a reason why you also like the letter X. Is triple X just for that? No. So what's the reason why you like the letter X?
I guess it's underappreciated as a letter.
It's an underappreciated letter. Students, X is always in math equations.
That's right. It's true. It's also X. Exactly. X. It's always X equals, something.
Y,
and
yes.
It's yeah.
Yes. So it's underappreciated letter.
X is the horizontal axis. Yeah.
X is also on the horizontal. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I like X.
You like it. Now I have a question from this side. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes.
Some possibility in the future your company will pay more attention to the I'm a freshman, and pay more attention to the biology, maybe the truth of the life, maybe the present place we are living. The Mars is in the future, maybe the Earth nowadays. Where your company will pay more attention to Earth.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, I think Tesla and Solar City.
Solar City. It's all on Earth.
Yeah. It's intended to help solve or accelerate progress towards sustainable energy. I think hopefully they will accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. So I think sustainable energy is the single biggest problem that we have to solve this century. Sooner the better.
I have a question in the back. Anyone in the back? Yes.
So I last saw you speak 3 years ago in my native London, and back then Tesla, SpaceX, PayPal had already been created. Since then you've given the world Hyperloop. What I want to know is when you think you'll first see that implemented, and what are you working on that's going to stun the world in the next 3 years? What's the next big thing?
Hyperloop.
When I see you in 3 years' time, what's it going to be?
Sure. Hyperloop, I just basically wrote the paper and published it and just made it freely available because I'm pretty strung out between SpaceX and Tesla, so it was sort of impossible for me to do something in addition to that. But there are a couple of companies that are attempting to commercialize the Hyperloop idea, and I'm hopeful that one or more of them will be successful. And then SpaceX is sponsoring a student competition for the Hyperloop to see who can design the best pod. So we're creating a little 1.5 kilometer long test track near our headquarters in LA, and then we're sponsoring an annual competition for pod technology. So I think that should be quite fun. And in terms of future things, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential out there for companies in genetics and possibly at the human brain, or the brain-machine interface. I think there's things that would have been considered science fiction in the past. There's a lot of potential there. I think, as I mentioned, like the electrification of all forms of transport except for rockets, so doing an electric jet, electric ships, like these are opportunities. I'm actually a big fan of tunnels. That's sort of also something that's underappreciated. I think we really need to have transport go 3D, and you can either go 3D up or 3D down. If you go 3D up with flying cars, you've got a lot of challenges with noise and potentially things falling on people's heads. But tunnels, and you also have weather constraints with any aircraft. But with tunnels, you can go just as 3D with tunnels, and you don't have any weather constraints, or no noise. And so I really think there's a big opportunity with tunnels.
The Hyperloop is the idea that you propose that from LA to San Francisco, 600 kilometers or 400 miles in 35 minutes. So I know you're living in LA, but you very often travel to San Francisco Bay Area for Tesla business. So you think that how many years we'll see such a marvelous thing? In 35 minutes, it's half the distance from Beijing to Shanghai.
Sure.
600 kilometers in 35 minutes. Is that technologically, financially, all feasible? You don't have time to do it, but you can ask someone else to do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely feasible. The paper that I published, has all the math behind it, and multiple outside entities have gone through and confirmed that it is correct. So I think it was initially met with some skepticism, but then so far everybody's said that it is certainly doable. I mean I think it's definitely doable. There's a question of maybe the economics, but I think the economics would be lower cost than high-speed rail. Because the cost of the tube per mile would be significantly less, because it's basically just a tube. Yeah. Whereas,
what's the probability we're going to see this in 10 years or 20 years?
I think there's a high probability of us seeing the Hyperloop implemented on at least some route in the next 5 to 10 years. Quite high.
In the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. It's mostly about getting the right of way and the approvals as opposed to the fundamental technology. I think it's really technologically pretty straightforward.
Straightforward technology.
Yeah, very straightforward, I think, really.
Economically, financially, it's not clear.
I think actually economics are pretty obvious too. It's just a tube.
Just a tube.
It's a tube. And a pod with an air compressor on the front and air bearings on the airbag skis. I mean, it's very, very straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Yeah.
You just don't have time to do it.
No.
Yeah. Do you encourage other people to do that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be quite exciting.
You're quite exciting.
I think it would be quite exciting to see it happen.
Very good. Now we have a last question. Yes, this one.
So actually, I came here tonight by taking one of your first batch of Tesla in China. Actually, one of the 8. So actually, we have a similar business model like a solar city in China, but not by the house, the roof of the house, but by the small factories. Because we have already 100,000 customers who are corporation, so they have the big, many roofs. But in China, we don't have so many houses. So if I have the chance to contact one of your colleagues, so maybe we can discuss a potential opportunity to cooperate, to promote your ideas in China. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Is that comment or is that is a question?
Sure,
Okay, the question is that do you have any plan to promote your solar city model in China?
Well, in the case of Solar City, I mean, I pretty much leave it up to those guys to decide when, what they want to do on an international basis. I certainly have encouraged them to expand internationally.
Okay.
But they've kind of had their hands full just operating in the U.S. and now recently they've expanded to Mexico.
Okay.
And maybe in a year or two they'll be able to expand to China and other places, and maybe find partners to work with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I contact
Are you a
your
student?
colleague.
Okay, I'll give a last chance to a female student.
Elon, we really like you. And my question is...
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, you're just a superhero, just like Monkey King in the Journey to the West in my heart. My question is,
Monkey King.
Yeah, for example...
From Chinese novel.
Yes, superhero. My question is, like SpaceX is just such a wild dream, the kind of for human welfare in the long term. But like the modern financial system might chase the short-term reward, or they will like put a lot of their opinions on the entrepreneurs. So how will you deal with the wild great dream that might not bring the short-term rewards with like the modern financial system? Because one last sentence. Because like Nikola Tesla. I just know him because of the car, but when he was leaving, like the JP Morgan decided to stop the financing to Nikola Tesla to finish his great plan, and that was such a pity for human being. So how do you think about finance and entrepreneurship?
Nikola Tesla. JP Morgan stopped finance for him.
Yeah.
But
so short term, long term.
Yes, but you become very rich first, and then you can, bear the risk, and of course you can finance yourself. But how about for other, entrepreneurs, such as like with dreams?
Okay, good. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly I think something like cars or rockets are kind of like I call that sort of phase 2 entrepreneurship. Because as you point out, there is a significant capital requirement for something like rockets or cars. So it's probably not the best place to start out. If somebody's starting out as an entrepreneur and doesn't have a lot of capital, and the only capital you have is what's in your head, right? And so that's why doing something in, say, software is a great initial thing to do, because software, you don't have to build anything, you don't have capital equipment or factories or anything.
You need a lab.
Yeah, so it's the best way to start out, I think, as an entrepreneur. And then once you've acquired some capital, then doing things that are capital intensive is an option. But it's usually quite a difficult thing to start out with. Yeah.
So good advice. Phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah,
to do software first to make some money, and then to do the phase 2 to realize your dream.
Yeah, like
real dream. Okay, so that's a very, very good advice. Two phases, entrepreneur.
Thank you.
So we have to stop. We can go on forever, but we have to stop. Thank you so much for sharing with us your stories and inspiring advice for our students. Really appreciate it.
Well, that was a great question. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. Yes. So now you're the member of the advisory board, so come here often.
All right. Thanks to, please stay. Thanks to Ding Qian and Ilan for this wonderful conversation, for this wonderful dialogue. The School of Economics and Management has prepared a souvenir for you. Now let's invite Ding Qian to present this souvenir.
Well, this is a Mars. It's a model of Mars, but it says Tsinghua Management Universal Forum. Okay, we're going to hold not a global forum, but universal forum on Mars. So I'm sitting there, also you are sitting there, with Tesla cars nearby, Solar City in front, and SpaceX in the back, and Tsinghua SEM also on the side. So this is for you.
Thank you.
It's made by 3D printer.
All right, cool.
Yeah. This is our dream, to hold this forum on Mars.
That would be cool.
Okay, that would be cool. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
And Elon has also prepared a gift for Ding Chen and the School of Economics and Management.
Model S.
Yeah, it's a sketch from a studio.
Thank you. This is your signature. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, a big round of applause.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the end yet. Now I would like to invite Professor Zhu, Professor Ouyang, and Professor Chen to come on stage and have a group photo.
Yes, please.
All right.
Please. Thank you so much also. Thank you.